we need an intro. Like, we need
I know.
So, like, when you first push record, it's like, do, whatever the beat's gonna be.
Okay.
And then we just come in like, hey.
And we can slide in like this way. From opposite sides. Hey. So silly. Okay, we'll work on that.
So, welcome to episode 3.
Hey.
Of Easy Talks. We are here live, in person.
Yes.
Together.
Not two squares.
Right?
One square, one location.
Right. And
touch her.
I can touch her too. Yes. Cheers. How sometimes you be in the Zoom, right? And when you're in your version of the meeting, the screens and people are arranged a certain way. But when you watch the playback and you be talking to somebody and in your screen they look like they're over here, so you're like, yeah, you know what I mean? But then when you look at it, you're turned this way talking to a whole different person that you were never talking to. So I appreciate
it's like in the mirror, when you look in the mirror and like you see it on IG and people are in the mirror and you're like, it's like when they're looking in the mirror but you're watching it on IG.
Oh, IG, yeah.
And then it's like, is their left their right or their right their left? Because like, okay, the ring's on the right hand, but when she's in the mirror, I know that's crazy. I was just thinking about that yesterday.
All the time. I just asked somebody, I was like, what? Like, do some people wear their rings on the right hand on purpose? And then when you just said what you said, then that would make sense why their hand, it would look like.
Yep. It's that mirror. It distorts it.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. But I think some people do. I want to say Irish people might wear it on their right hand, I think. And like switch the heart different ways for engagement. That, don't quote me on that. I don't want anybody like, no, that's not true. But for what I believe, it is something with the Irish and how because they have the beautiful ring with the heart at the top.
Yeah,
of the
I've
hand.
seen it before.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, welcome. So we're here. I'm the E in Easy.
I'm the Z in Easy.
Yes. And so we here. So
shining.
Right. The shine life is so this is part of it when it's real, raw, and uncut. Like, you get real life. So if something happens, like, we're not going back and being like, that didn't happen. No, real life happened.
Yeah, it did.
So if it's a little shine, like, let it shine. And like, we in here getting it.
That part. Doing something different to get something different.
What?
And most importantly, building community.
Yes!
Yeah.
And then too, we should have so we got the intro song, and then when something like that happens, it'd be like we just push a little button.
Here we go.
Yes. Hit them with the sound bowl. And
gotta do 3. You already know. Hey.
Yes. All right. See, it's a whole movement.
Yes.
So tonight, I feel like the conversation is going to go a lot of different ways. But what the heart of the conversation tonight is sisterhood, community, and your squad. So some people call it tribe, some people call it soul squad, some people call it crew. I mean, it's a lot of different names, but discussing how you navigate in that space while journeying. Because so often it's like where we start and where we go is like mind-blowing, and you can't even prepare for it. And so certain people where you started your journey at, it's like they're not riding that ride with you. And so learning how to navigate that, and us talking about that. So just sisterhood, community, your tribe, your people, your crew, your earth angels. What does that look like? And what our experiences have been and currently are, and just the benefits, and also too, like, just the real lifeness of what that really looks like when paths are no longer running parallel.
And sometimes, sis, when you talk about and sometimes they're no longer journeying with you, they can be journeying with you, with us, but silently, through prayer. I call those covenant friends and covenant relationships, because I don't believe in burning bridges. And there have been relationships where people have done something to me that was like an integrity thing, and it's like, oh no, I'm not rocking with that. Cut off, burn, let go, released. But then there are people that I pray for, and I even pray for those people that I've cut off, right? Because I don't want my heart to be impure. But there are people that you don't have to see, but they you know they got you and you got them. That if you had to call them, you do, or damn you. But really, I think the best example for me is my best friend since high school, Tiff. We can go months, like we haven't seen each other in a minute, but it could be any time of the night, and it's a quick, hey, how you doing? And it's never love lost. We're journeying together, but yet separate. Because I feel like sometimes in order for us to grow, and I know we're not talking specifically about the heroine's journey, but it's that mother-daughter split. I think of that in relationships and platonic relationships and friendships too, whereas sometimes during certain parts of your journey, you have to break apart in order to be your best. And it's not ill intent. It's just a fact of the journey. Right. You know what I mean? So, didn't mean to digress and pontificate on that, but yeah, just because they aren't journeying physically in our visual space, there are friends and there are people that are journeying with us in silence. So, and those are really, you want those, because you have to be able to make space too. This is another angle. You have to be able to make space for the people that are aligned for your journey. Like the intentional part, like how we connected. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's that flow. It's that organic-ness of living in a perpetual flow state, honoring the love that you give and the love that you want to receive. And so in those platonic relationships, it's reciprocal, and when they're organic. And I say seasonal but lifetime. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I tell people all the time, like, I believe people enter our life for a reason and a season. Like, there's no one who enters into our space and it's an accident or a coincidence or a mistake or anything like that. And regardless of how the relationship ends, if it's not current, it doesn't take away the value of their placement in your life for that season. Because even if it ain't go your way, it went the way it was supposed to go when we think about divine alignment and divine timing. Yeah.
And I add that third piece, that lifetime. So a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And those lifetimes are those silent ones, those covenant ones. So that's that third component. I do like threes. Oh my gosh. Okay, Trinity.
Yes. Hey. That's you.
Yeah. But no, that's real. So, when we talk about tribeship, I call it tribies. I call them tribies in my blog work, in my writing. And as I thought about today, I've had people in my life that have held me down during seasons where I really needed them. And I can't say in that instance, some of them are lifetime. They were in fact seasonal, and they were what I needed. I was what they needed. But then being able to articulate that, right, and to be able to accept that, understand it, and move forward with it, because a lot of times ill feelings can come. Well, why aren't we? Well, why don't we? And how often can you sit down with a person and say, well, vibrationally, we're just not there anymore. It's no love lost. What the hell are you talking about vibrationally? But when I speak of vibrationally, I mean, like, are we aligned? It's like when you talk about your spouse, are you even equally yoked, right? Are you ready to be a reciprocal sister, you know, a soul sister? And everybody can't be a soul sister. Some people are just like sisters, you know, and that's cool too, because as women, we need the sisterhood. You need a sisterhood. You need women rallying with you, being your allies. You need women, like, in the basic sense, telling you how to love on yourself, how to be loved, and why that you are enough. You know, it's that, it goes back to that root of, we need each other for this journey. We need each other to lift each other up, and we need there to be a blessing to each other in its various forms. But we definitely need each other. And for women who say, well, I don't like women, I don't. that's a you thing.
Right.
That's a me thing.
Right.
Because what we talked about earlier is like, be the first to put you first in all ways, and all ways is not just on a fluffy. That's on calling you on your shit. So me calling myself on my stuff before it's like making it about what Erica, I think about when we had our first little tiff. We never even talked about it. And it was funny because I was talking too much, but I was also in a dark place in a certain space trying to prove, a point, but it was in the wrong space. You get what I'm saying? And so it was, but I was able to receive that. And again, not say, well, Erica, you didn't have to. No, bitch, what? Ooh, this is live. And I said, bitch, I'm talking about myself, but I didn't mean it in a bad way. But I had to say to myself, like, why did you get... Because I wasn't being present in the moment, and I was trying to, over explain to get something, but you have to allow that quiet space. So looking at yourself allows you to see that and not get mad at somebody else for just being like, damn it, shut up,
Listen,
so
that rocked me too, because I, like, later that night I blogged about it.
I read your blog and I'm like, girl, I am thicker skinned than that, but more so the fact that, again, when you're able to look at yourself first, like, why am I bothered? What could I have done differently? Was it something and when you look at yourself and you answer those questions, like, oh, well, yeah, okay, yeah, I was talking too much. I should have allowed more space for, the said person to allow for things to happen. So, you can look at yourself and you can see it for what it is. And it's really about, one of the things in the habit I written on my mirror and permanent marker is class, humility, and grace in all ways and always. And no matter what I do, I will always engage from that space, always honoring the relationship. And that's just how I'm cut.
Listen, and for me, like, I have spent so many years of my life, like, hypersensitive because, I had the fear of abandonment, and I had, like, the fear of, like, oh, if people really know me, then they won't like me, or they won't accept me, or they won't embrace me, or, like, just even the mentality of, like, don't say nothing, just fall back, chill, leave it alone, and then, like, or just like marinating on it so much and then creating all of these stories and all of these narratives, which for me, it goes back to my childhood. Like, and talking about like the inner child work that we're doing now through the Easy Container. But I'm like, in those spaces when conflict, I am up against it, all of that comes rushing back. And for so long, I allowed it to hold me back. And now I'm like, well, no, like, if I'm entering the space with mindfulness and intention and like heart, like from a heart space, then it's okay to say whatever I need to say or do whatever I need to do, and know that if that is met with conflict for whatever reason, it's okay. And that's part of relationships. Like, when you have two different people who share space together, we're talking about whole people with life experiences and with the impact of living life in the here and now. And so to think that, like, oh, well, this made sense to me, so automatically gonna make sense to you, or this is the way I do things, so automatically this is the way you do things. And it's like, no, like, that can't happen when you're in shared space with other people. And when you're in shared space with people who hold a significant place in your life, and that relationship is sacred and special, it's like trusting that this too shall pass. But it's just like that.
And that people have bad days and bad moments. And you just, and the bottom line is, and this is where my human design comes into play, is where it's like, I'm just made to be like a ride or die. Like, and where I am in my life is that they used to be for whoever I was affiliated with through organizations, through knowing this person or that person. But for me, it's very, when I'm choosing to share space, when I'm choosing to show up, when I'm choosing to say, like, we cool, I got you, you got me, like, you my soul sister, stuff is gonna happen. And when you have off days, when you show up in a space where you both are like intentionally being your best self, for me, it's going to be two things. Either you're going to ride the wave and be like, oh, okay, cool, check again, look at myself. And two, if it's something that continues, okay, what's going on? And then that should be a check-in. Right. Instead of me being pissed or you being pissed that, well, I know I'm speaking for myself. Instead of me being pissed that, well, why did she, and blah, 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 blah. It happened. We moving. You learned. I self-assessed, which is what I'm going to do, period. And then it allows you to show up where it's like not emotion. And not, I won't say not emotion, because you feel it, you experience it, but it's like, oh, okay, now on to the next thing, because we got too much shit to be doing. We're going to be pedaling on that because I was over talking. You know what I'm saying? But it's, again, looking at yourself. Be the first to put you first. Always.
So always. This is part of it, though. So, like, is this how you showed up to pre-work?
God, no.
Right.
Oh, my God, no.
Right. No, how we started. Like, when do we first enter this space with certain people in our life where we're at? And then we do this work. I feel like our relationships, are like these precious little, like, gemstones. Like, I don't know, like, but they're so precious, and like they're delicate, and they're sacred.
Yeah.
And so when you do the work, because of what you talked about, that intention in which you show up, like, that for me is everything. Like, I know that I do it to you, and I've done it to some other people too. Like, I want to see your face. I don't want to talk to you on the phone. I don't want to text. I want to see you.
And I will show up with my eyebrows off and hair up, like.
Yes, and that's how I felt too. Like, when I had like toothpaste on my, I had a breakdown, I had a little toothpaste, and I'm like showing up on the screen with this big old blob of white, and then maybe I got here.
It's so crazy. You know, you took me back to my teen years, because I sure used to do that.
Yes,
I don't give pimples.
Right.
But I'll wake up tomorrow with a pimple right here.
Man, see, I'm still working through. Like, this is the best my face has ever looked since this whole journey. But I think that also goes to what you and I have talked about many times. Like, when you begin to show up for you in a new way, your body responds. And for you, it was with the weight. And for me, it's been like mainly with my face. Like, when this choker gets to ticking, I'm like, F, like, what did I do? You know, because I'm like, dang it. Or like, I might think I'm slick, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I did that, then none happened. And then like the next day I got a big old breakout right here. I'm like, dog, you saw it. Like, what are you doing?
But what do we say? Your stuff will manifest in your body in ways.
But sometimes I'd be like, wait, you didn't even give me a minute. Like, dang, it just happened. Or sometimes I'd be like, I've been doing so well. I've been doing all of the things. I have been intentional. And then my face all like, no, bro, you've been stressing. You've been doing things to say that you're doing things. And honey, when we check our history, we know where that leads us. So stop playing.
Okay, when you talk about how you just said, like, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, do you find that when you have to say you're doing something, that's really what you're not doing? Or when you get mad at somebody else about something they're not doing, it's really your stuff? It's like a self-calling out, if that makes sense. Like, I need a good example. Okay, so like, if I know my desk is stacked, I have not organized, I'm overwhelmed, and I haven't paused. And I'm like, but no, like you said, no, Zinda, because no, you are organized, and blah, 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 and da, 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 da. But at this very moment, Zinda, you need to pause and organize because it's a little chaotic. So I say that to say that you call out stuff or you try to hype yourself up in a way to say that you're doing it when really you slacking. Does that make sense?
I don't think it's that. I think for me, what I have noticed is that when I am trying, I'm doing a lot and doing nothing at all, because it's coming from a space that's out of alignment.
Okay.
And so when I'm just falling back, chilling, like literally, like, oh, my alarm just went off. I set my timer for my 15-minute morning meditation. Like, I don't be like, I try to meditate this. But no, you don't. You just do it. It happens organically. It flows. It's just part of it. When I'm washing dishes and I'm listening to my audiobook and I'm literally nourishing my soul for the day. Mm-hmm. When I'm doing that, like, just because I'm like, oh, like, I got to eat breakfast. Mm-hmm. It's like, my soul needs to eat, so this is what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. But in that whole thing, it's never like, oh, let me grab my piece of paper. What are my morning practices today? Meditation, check. Okay, yep. Intentional.
Why are you talking about me? Because that's my personality. Though. I have to write mine down because it keeps. It's like an accountability part for me, though. Because it's like, okay. So the first thing I was thinking about is, like, for me, as I was thinking it, like, that's control. When I feel like I have to control different things, that's when I know, when I have to call it out.
Yeah.
But my list, girl, I put it on, like, my pause. Did you pause today? I used to even put, like, time and when I stopped, but that's when I'm overly, like, right. You know,
I've seen you. So listen, no, look, real life. I've seen you. Something's going on, and you'll be like this.
Oh, absolutely.
You're not checking nothing off to brush. No. It's not like when you feel a surplus of this type of energy, make sure that you brush.
Right.
Like, even if it is on the checklist, in that moment, you wasn't like, oh, shoot, I got 10 things on the checklist. I got this one thing. What was the one? Oh, brush. Let me just start brush. No.
Girl, I brush to save my life and somebody else's.
Exactly. And so that's what I'm talking about. When you said earlier today how you were chilling, doing whatever, and then all of a sudden you got the divine download. Oh, I need to make a post. Like, this is what I'm feeling. And so you did it. Yeah. It wasn't, okay, today I need to make a post of me. No, like,
that's true.
And so
when I try to do that, it never happens.
Exactly.
It never happens.
That's the point.
I feel like Cindy, you suck. It's like, I just won't talk about it. I'll just do it. Because when you just do it, it's like, again.
Yes, it's organic and it comes from that flow. And so, and that's why I
allowing the flow, right? Yes.
Because there's a difference between trying to control the flow and allowing the flow. And that's where my thing was. What I was talking about is I would do a list of all the things. Like, I made that list. I read off my list. Like this, and it would be very detailed. And very like, yes, and girl, by the time, it's in my phone right now, like for schoolwork, my whole day from 8 a.m. to either 11 p.m. or midnight has something in the slot.
Okay.
For me to do.
Are you going to take some of that away? Are you leaning into taking some of it out for pausing, or did you write pausing?
No. So what it is now, because of the lessons that I've learned over the years, is like, okay, this is the time I'm studying. This is the time I'm kicking it intentionally with the kids. This is the time I'm cooking dinner. This is the time I'm cleaning the house. Mm-hmm. But what my practices have allowed me to do is when I feel like I'm off at some point through the day, I feel the offness and I'm like, oh, what's happening? Let's check in.
Okay.
Let's go in. Bro, you're on one.
And for those that are watching, E has younger children. So those are, no, I'm serious, but that's important, right? And should we be looking, I don't know if we should be looking here, because we just been talking like whatever. But the importance of that is, in every phase of motherhood, it's important to pause. However, and you're like, at this point, you're still forming their wellness practices as well, right? Because you're demonstrating, you're role modeling what you need to do, but you're actually role modeling and they're seeing it. And they're like, okay.
When we eating dinner and 6:15 hit, it's a mindful moment that goes off on my phone. And so we'll be sitting there and then all of a sudden 6:15 hit and I'll be like, okay, and I put my hand on my heart space and I take 3 deep breaths. And they'd be like, mindful moment, mommy, mindful moment. And then Autumn would be like, Sky, tell me when mommy opened her eyes and then I'm going to open my eyes. Tell me when she opened them. I'm breathing too. I'm breathing. I'm like, y'all really? That's what we doing?
I love that though.
Yeah, and then even my gum drop, he's like, Mommy, when we gonna start meditating again?
Oh.
Yeah. And I'd be like, baby, we gonna, but then sometimes I'd be like, it's such a sacred practice for me. And then I'd be like, y'all be effing around. Like, y'all be doing the most. Like, we gotta do a 90-second minute because y'all gonna be cutting up, poking and hitting.
But 90 seconds is good.
Right. And I think that that's about it. And that's where I'm coming to, too, because the depth of control, like, I had to control all of it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to control you because you lacked act right. And if you just did what I wanted you to do, the way I wanted you to do it, how I wanted you to do it, there would be no problems with us or in your life. Like, you're welcome. Just listen. Because I got it. Right?
I know. I get it. Yes.
Right? Just do it.
What's the problem?
I've started reading this book. It's called The Courage to Be Disliked. Mm-hmm. Ooh, girl, the book's so deep. The book is so deep. But
okay, I'm going to have to add that one to my book list.
The book is, listen, okay, so the biggest, brightest golden nugget that I got out of this book is something called separation of task. So separation of task is when you take care of your business and you let other people take care of their business. You don't interject in the business of somebody else because you think that if they just did it when you wanted them to do it, how you wanted them to do it, it would be fine. And they would just get it done. But because it's like a conversation between like the teacher guy and the student. And they talk about like kids, and it's like how parents like, oh, you got to do your homework. So like, go sit down and do your homework. And when they talk about the separation of tasks, they like, the kid knows that they have to do homework. So if they choose not to do homework, they're going to have to face the consequence of not doing homework. Whereas you as a parent say, hey, you know, like when you're ready to do your homework, if you have any questions, let me know. If you need a specific space set up for you to do your homework, let me know. You need pencils, this, that, whatever. Let me know what you need so I can support you in taking care of this task. But then you put a period at the end of that joker and you leave it alone.
Okay, that is beautiful. Just imagine, I'm thinking about my childhood.
Right.
And what it all goes down to is, again, wellness. Not pausing to make the time to do that because we're all so busy as women doing all of the things to maintain. So that just hit me. I'm like, that's a utopia in my mind.
And that's what
But it's also communication, because communication is kind. And if we're teaching our children to be effective adults, right, and efficient adults, pausing to take the time to teach those life skills. I mean, that's life skill.
Right, and it's in all relationships, so too, because even if like you got a coworker, you got a partner, a husband, a wife, you have a girlfriend, you have a student, you still implement the separation of tasks. Like, I'm not about to do something for you because I can get it done quicker, or I'm not about to be like, hey babe, can you go mow the grass, and then you ain't mowed the grass yet, and then now it's a like you said you was gonna do it, then you do it.
And that's so powerful in marriage,
man,
when you get to that point, because you talk about control, you talk about just do the way I want you to do it, when I want you to do it, how. That's been my greatest lesson in marriage, and has been our greatest golden nugget to help us level up. Is to, because I think as mothers, as wives, we want, again, things done our way, this time, at this moment. I've learned to literally just, if somebody says they're going to do it, it'll be done. And I'm okay if it's done on your time. And that's so not me. It is me now, because I'm like, well, you said you were going to do it, and it's even like that. Okay, communication is kind. I'm upset now. I have a whole attitude because you said you were going to do A, B, C, or D, and now you didn't do it. And so now it's with the grass. And now I just do it now. Because, again, Mario works from home, and it's not me complaining about my man. It's just with him working home and his schedule now. And it's being out in nature for me. So it's wellness. It's that grass, right? So it's like now I'm learning even to lean into other ways and not the roles, if you will, where everything for the woman is inside the house. Where there are many aspects inside the house that I love. But that's a piece. But again, it's a communication and letting go of having to have a handle on every aspect.
Right. And I love that you bring that up about marriage, because for me, that has been one of the biggest gifts for my husband and I, is staying in the present moment with him. In our marriage. I don't think about tomorrow. I mean, if we have something planned, I get excited, like, oh, our anniversary's coming up, or we going on a little trip. But when it comes to like us, he and I do my best to stay here. Because I don't know what anything outside of this moment will hold for us. And even anything in the past, it's nothing that can be done to change it right here, right now. So all we have is this moment.
Right, that part.
And I'm like, it has been so helpful. And then too, like when I think about him, and I think that goes for all of our relationships, like I would rather give somebody the benefit of the doubt that to think, you know what, like they doing their best. I don't know what you got going on in your life for real, outside of what you tell me and whatever guesses or assumptions I may form. But I know that at some points you can look at me and you can think all types of stuff. And even in those moments that I have, I'm still doing my best.
Right.
In that moment, even if it's a rough, difficult moment, I'm doing my best.
Right.
So if we can flip that role or flip that lens and be able to look at other people. So our husband, like, this MRF right here, but then pause and be like, clearly something is going on, because the man that I know, this is not and love. Well, love is gonna come in a second, but the man that I know, like, this is not how he operates.
Right.
But because of the space that you hold in my life and that love, you're worth pausing to see what's going on. And I think too, when we talk about friendship, that's something else too, like, especially between girlfriends, between community, like when something pops off and they do something that feels out of pocket, instead of being like going into attack mode, being like, something is happening, because this so out of character and this so out of pocket, like I don't know, but something like, what you need?
Or out of character, or are those shadow parts seeping up? You get what I'm saying? Because, I mean, I think about the moment we had, and that was my shadow part, trying to overcompensate, because I forgot what was going on, but it wasn't related to container, but it was some other stuff. I just, clearly I released it. I don't remember the details, but it was some things were bothering me. So, that self-sabotage of, see me, hear me, as opposed to just pausing and being quiet. And so I think back, even fast forward to our most recent, our first week container here, just for some things I had going on, you were like, hey sis, just be present. That's all I need you to do. And when you said that, I was like, yes, because I could just show up, and do my work. Yeah, it could be my, internal stuff. But, yeah, I lost my train of thought.
But that's relationship. Yeah, that's that part. Yeah. So when, again, going back to that scenario
I got teary-eyed.
That's real though. But when you go back to that space where you're interacting with a girlfriend, sister, whatever, and she does something that's out of pocket, out of character, you know that something is off. And so that's why you hold that space for her, because clearly something is off, while on the back end, if she's where she's at, she's going to be like, did you just see you pop? Did you just see that? What just happened?
But see, I think, and that's the beauty of aligned relationships, the beauty of sacred relationships, because relationships that I had prior to being who I am today, those aren't even, most women that I used to share space with didn't have the emotional intellect to decipher, or to even have the conversation, or have the forethought of like, oh, well, maybe something's going on. At my darkest, those same women, where? And I mean, these are spaces that I held for well over 20 years. But where? So clearly they didn't see me, right? So that's the importance, and that's the beauty of really being in reciprocal, sacred spaces, community, and relationships.
Yeah.
That's key, because if not, you don't have the forethought. And really, like, as basic as it sounds, and I had this, so I always stick back to the basics. I used to say that in corporate America, back to the basics and you're going to be good. Loving yourself. Because how am I expecting these any woman or any platonic relationship to see me and love me if I don't see and love myself? Because I don't even know what that looks like, which is why I'm even sharing space with people like this anyway.
Right, but that goes to, so I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that's one of the biggest issues. So many of us, me too, like in the words of Damar, because she straight up us, me too. But like in this situation, real life, me too, like, we don't see ourselves. We don't see our value. We don't love ourselves for a myriad of reasons. And so we go into do mode.
Yeah.
Watch me, see me. I'm going to do the mostest in and at everything, because then you see me. And on top of that, just keeping it all the way real, when you're busy doing the most, you have no time to be in your feels.
That part.
You have no time to do the self-reflection.
Yeah. And the work.
Yeah, and the work, like, because I remember even too, like, I had been at this journey of transformation for years, like, on purpose. For real. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, what is, like, you know, because I'm still, like, I'm trying to control some stuff and I'm trying to make, and I'm like, I'm doing the work.
Right.
I'm investing in courses, I'm reading books, I've done it all.
Things, yep.
Why aren't things happening? And then I go to this retreat, right? And again, Damara is like, you know so much, but you embody nothing. And I was like, whoa.
That just gave me chills. You see?
Yeah, I see.
Was I in the kitchen or did I leave?
I think she told me when we was downstairs in the yoga room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, whoa. Like, my first response was like, B? You know, like that natural response. Like,
right.
What? I didn't invite you to tell me about me in this like, what? And when she did that, though, it literally broke something inside of me. And I was like, oh, that was the missing link.
Those sacred spaces.
Yes, where you do see me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that has been the biggest game changer.
And your vulnerability, though, because you showed up for you to be in that space.
Right. That part.
To hear that.
Right.
You received that.
Right.
Because everything you hear, you don't have to receive.
Right. And it was divine timing and divine alignment again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, because I was like, I needed that to begin my journey of embodiment.
Right.
Because I didn't even know, like, I knew about the learning. I knew about all of the to-dos. I knew about all, like, you do mindset work. I got it. I got a whole list. Like, I was thinking of, like, with the new shift that's happening, I got like 3 courses at home. Just like, I'm like, whoa, because of all of this stuff that I've done. And that's the part too that I really want to like touch on is like, none of the work that I did was in vain, because it was all work that had to be done. So when I got to this place that I'm at now, it's that full body experience.
Yeah.
And had I not had all those years extra, and the work with the hard K, it, like, I like, you know, when you think about gardening, like, I did the stuff with the soil. You know what I mean? Like, I got in there. You know what I mean? I cleared out old stuff, and I watered it. Like, but then when I watered it, like, I ain't just water it. I watered it, and I spoke life to it. I had light, and I put light, and I infused light, like, with intention and with purpose, and like with love, like, and tenderness. You know what I mean? All of the things, the watering, the light, the weeding, like, and then now all of a sudden it's like I have this whole new life that I live, and when I live it, I get to share it with other people.
And your roots.
Yes.
What are those roots doing?
Yeah, they're continuing to grow and move, and
that ripple effect.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that has such a big impact on how I'm able to now show up for other people, which is how when certain things happen, I'm able to get that. Like the day that we came and did it here in the back when you were going through what you was going through, I was like, oh, she ain't got to do nothing. And I didn't have to know the specifics.
Right.
I felt your energy.
Right. And that's the beauty too of aligned spaces. You know when your girl is off, you know. You can feel, you literally can feel her energy. And that's why it's so important. And we talk about this in the container, like when we show up, if it's stuff going on, now we pause right in the beginning and we make space to let's let it up, let's put it out there so that we can be clean and pure and organic in this space without any negative energy, because it's so important. It is so, because you're linked, we're linked. So it's like just even when we send each other a message, hey, sending light and love, how many times, I will speak for myself, when you sent that, I'm like, oof, I receive it. Because I think oftentimes people think about wellness, and it's just like I remember at one of the sister circles, full moon circles we went to, a young woman was there, and she said, I just want to be from here, I want to be done. It's not a start and end with this journey. It's like it's a perpetual space. It's a perpetual activity.
Right, and that's part of that alignment too with your soul squad, is that when you reach that block, you have a group, you have a body of connected souls that you can go to be able to have that, like, girl, this too shall pass. Like, I hear you, and I know that it's rough right now, but it's gonna pass. And there is no ending, boo. No. It's gonna be another layer, and when you get done with that layer,
dead, it's the ending.
Well, yeah. That part.
But I want to enjoy this part, because you think about the legacy and the trajectory changing that you're having. Because I think about your babies, who all give me so much life, and I think about how they mimic you now. That mommy and her mind. But I think about my oldest and how she does lists, and how she does her vision board, and how she's just different things that I can say that I can't say like she's doing this because of me, but by seeing it just ripple effects, and it's like, okay, well, this is working. Okay. So just imagine.
And I think about that, because especially now where I'm at, because listen, I like one of the things I'm talking about the programs and stuff that I'm going to be working on creating. It's having, this is just a rough draft, but a trauma born child. And like what that means is a woman who has trauma and is still living through that trauma, and then brings a baby into this world. And that baby is partially raised when she is still in her trauma. Because when you are in your trauma, you show it in those closest to. I'm just keeping it real, because it
that's happened. 100. Absolutely.
And my kids, unfortunately, especially the boys, bless their heart, like they got me at my rawest.
Okay.
And they got me at new motherhood. They got me at having a child who you don't read about. They don't prepare you for children like my oldest. The world does not prepare you for a different baby. And so learning how to navigate that on top of a marriage with two people who are trauma bound together, who have not healed, who are reflections of their father and mother wounds, and all, like just all of the things, and then raising two kids in that. And then when that marriage falls apart, And those two children are in there with the falling apart of two people who, as toxic as the relationship was, real life loved each other. But just due to their individual inabilities to have processed everything that they had been through, were not able to make it in that relationship. So the ending of it was very hard on both parties. And again, there's kids in that every day. Like, that is stuff that is not taken into consideration. And it's not like, oh, well, take the kid away from their parent. For what? Like, they're doing their best. And not to excuse anything, but it's like, anyone who has been through significant healing knows the depths into which you go. Like, it is the heroine's journey talks, the descent is dark. Yeah. Seeing yourself, being face to face with yourself. Yeah. And your years of life, and the having to live with the consequences of your choices and decisions, and living a life that is chaotic, drama filled, toxic, harmful, crazy, but yet it looks beautiful on the outside.
Picture perfect, girl.
It look good. You hear me? It looks good because that's how we're raised too. Yeah. You better look at what happens in this house, that, you know, all of the things. But just, it's like the impact of that on those kids, and then the kids having to figure out as little people, not understanding what's going on. And so then to have kids who get the mom who is truly in the work and gets to see some of that too, where it's like you going back and forth and you like, wait, stop. What do you want? I hear you. I don't get it. I don't understand it, but you're showing me, and I see it, that this matters to you. That is that life-changing trajectory, generational trauma breaking in that moment. Yeah. Where you're willing to pause and you're willing to get off of your imaginary horse that you ride because you somebody mama or daddy, and get down on a child's level and let them know, I hear you and I see you and I don't get it, so I need you to say it again.
You know what? My mom is working as a guest teacher at a school, and she has a student who the way she communicates with kids is like they're grown, like kids, like, you know, when you do that, it makes me feel, and the class feels, you know, and the way she communicates with it, I said, Mom, you're literally changing their lives, because one, you're taking the time to talk to them, explain what the consequences of their actions are. And like one of the little guys in the class, he's really gifted, but they get, you know, labeled and da-da-da-da-da. But her giving this attention to give him responsibility and to be accountable, that's all kids want. But as parents, and then honestly, like, and trauma is it varies, right, for everybody. And I can't tell you that your trauma is any less than my trauma or mine any less than yours, period. Because it all impacts us, period. And
that's what trauma is. It's not what happened to you, it's your interpretation of it is what causes trauma.
And so often people try to tell you how to feel and think in it, when really you can't do that. But for adults to like, and so when I talk to her, I'm like, Mom, you're good at this. Like, you're changing those young kids' lives. 4th grade. And she's like, yeah, and I had him read, and I made up story problems, and in her, she's having fun with it, and I'm like, and for me, I'm like, you're causing them to do something different, right? Yeah, you're creating different setting standards and expectations, and you're making it fun, even though in your mind we're gonna do more learning, and they're like, yay, for one, because it's attention for them, because they don't get it. Yeah, and we all literally just want attention and to be loved, especially at that age. And right now, I don't care about attention. I just want to share space with good people. Right. But at that age, you know, bringing them up and changing trajectories, and I'm like, I told her, I said, that little boy gonna grow up and marry a black woman. I said, because you making such an impact in his life. I'm serious. She was like, stop it. I was like, seriously.
Yeah.
Because
they'll never forget her though.
No. Sure. And that's why I'm like, you are so good at that. But then I think of her as a parent, and it's like, I didn't see that side of her as a parent. But she wasn't who she is now, because she's evolved also, so we have to give that's another topic. How, as children and daughters of mothers and fathers, like how we journey that space. Because I feel like and it wasn't until being on this journey that I realized how I held my mother to a certain level of standard and expectation because she's my mother. And as opposed to seeing her as a woman having a human experience that had a child at 15 who still was able to get a bachelor's and a master's, send me to college, me graduate, me own a home, me, build life. Yeah, I took a dump when I chose a different route, 6 figures to food stamps, but I'm back, but still seeing her from that experience. Seeing her as a woman.
Yeah, and that part is beautiful. Like, I'll tell you, my relationship with my mom is the best it has ever been. Ever been. Like, ever been. And I was cool with my mom until I started having kids. And then I began to question the decisions she made when I was a kid. And I began to ask questions like, how could you?
Okay.
And you can't make this make sense because it's not easy. And there's so much that happens, and when we know we a lot, and we know there's a lot going on, but we still show up. And so I use that lens and cast judgment and got real in my feels, and it shifted everything. Like, I can't rock with you the same. Like, it changed everything. And so, over the years, like, we never had like it wasn't bad, but like, it just wasn't, it was just what it was. And she definitely showed up in my adult life in every way that I needed. There's never, like, when I need her, she is there. Period. No questions asked. I might have to hear her mouth, and not even in a like rah way, but like she's gonna have something to say, but she is gonna be there for me, and she's gonna wait to say it.
Time and place.
Exactly.
I love it.
She see me, she gonna love me, she gonna have me, she gonna hold me, she gonna be there, and then when I'm good, she's gonna then tell me about myself. But I'm like, I think too, what I have shared with her is like, I see her doing her work.
It's when I say ripple effect, when we talk about ripple effect like that, it's just real. Because when you talk about the evolution of your relationship with your mom, I think about mine with mine, and I've even talked about it in some of my work where I literally had to pull away from them. I think I talked about it on one of our episodes from my mom and my daughter, and it wasn't them, it was again me. Again, be the first to put you first in all ways. That was, I had to check me. I had to check in with me. I didn't even know who I was. I was mad because people were saying I was moody. I was mad because people were saying, expecting me to do all of the things and be there for everybody and just show up big and bright and bold all the time. Almost 300 pounds, unhealthy, broken, horrible marriage. Kids are good, but trauma. My stepdaughter and my oldest daughter, and then my son. He was young. He the baby, so he was like, I don't remember it being bad, But just, and I lost my train of thought. It's so much, but just the whole thing with her now, and I think about it. That's what it is. The mother and daughter break. I specifically remember that break And to see that that's part of the heroine's journey.
Yeah.
And that was powerful.
The whole heroine's journey is powerful.
Because I needed that to grow.
Yes.
And it wasn't my mom's fault. It wasn't Devin's fault. It wasn't Delaney's fault. It wasn't Mario's fault. It wasn't anybody's fault. It was what I needed in order to grow.
Yeah.
Because the one thing about my mom is she had me and still does to the detriment of herself if needed. And that's not okay, because she's a woman having a human experience in her life. You know what I'm saying? So, but that, and I think about the break, the mother-daughter break, and I think about my daughter, and I see it as me having done my work. I don't see it as a negative thing, because for me it's establishing boundaries, because establishing boundaries was something that I wasn't good at. I didn't have any for myself, and I didn't have any for other people. So of course I don't have any for my children. Yep, I gave them privacy, and let them, as my mom would say, I let them have a fun life, but it was still controlled. But girl, I'm having a hot flash. It just hit me. You can see I'm starting. I'm gonna leave it alone. I was like, oh, Chanel, look at the camera. I lost my train of thought, girl. Woo! Oh, Sherry Shepherd put on their hot flash summer, girl. Her IG, girl. Woo! Okay. I'm not sorry, but yes. Yeah, I can feel the fan. My goodness. Whoa, girl. Oh, anyway. But we're talking about moms, right? And just
seeing them.
Seeing them.
Like, and I see my mom now, and I'm like, she's one of those relationships. Like, my mom is my person. Yeah. She the woman. I talk to her every day. Like, if I call her at 10, she's like, what took you so long to call? Oh,
I love it.
Because she's the first, like, she's part of my daily practice.
But your mom sees you too. Yeah. And see, that's the thing now that my mom, because I don't know that my mom saw me, because for years, and she'll tell me this, and when you meet her, you're like, yeah, I used to think he was weak. She didn't see me, because you don't see your kids, right? They're off living their life. I was off doing my thing, and I think people see you at the last age they saw you when you were at home.
Yeah, and see,
or when you stop growing in their mind.
And that's one thing that I will tell you, like, about my mom. Like, I can say whatever I want to say, but my mom, like, she always loved me, and she always did her best, and she always looked out for me the best she could. Like, absolutely, those are three things. And she did see me. Like, she's always seen me, and like, I was like, it just, I think because I had so many, like, just like, what the complex trauma, like, it's just like one thing after another. Like, I just couldn't find my grounding and my footing. So it's just like I was just being swept away and not knowing and not fully talking about, because it's not stuff that happened. So it's just like she would say such positive things, and I'd be like, what? Like, what's wrong? What are you talking about? Like, what's wrong with you? And I didn't believe it. Because I'm like, it don't make no sense, like, for you to say this type of stuff about me when I know I'm not those things. But up until even this day, she still does that. She sees me, and I think that is one of the biggest gifts that I had no idea that she had given me. But I see now in this moment in our discussion that, like, she built a mold for me to be able to give my kids that, because I see them. I see all four of my babies. And it was just something that happened organically. But I see now, thinking about her and how she held that space for me, that's that too. Like, because she held that space for me, I now can hold that space for my babies in a way that for me feels so natural. And like I said, because of what she gave me.
And for me, I had to work at that, and like, now my mom does. She has always loved me, never a doubt. But as far as, like, and I don't know if it's just the my familiar structure, but, like, even one of my aunts would tell Devin now, like, Deke, she's my niece. She's not my friend. She's my niece. And it's like, yeah, but I could be not that we have to be friends, because I am your niece, but we each have value in more ways than I think sometimes our family can see us. But then, like, for my mom, like, she like, when I wrote my first book, she was like, I always knew you would be an author. I always knew you'd do this. And, like, when I get promotions at work, I always knew, you know. Mm-hmm. So she's was not one to be like, oh yeah, la la la, because you know, at the end of the day, she was out there grinding. She was trying to make it happen for me. So, and I see that now. I love that, and I knew that then, but you know, it's just much gratitude for that. But having her see me now, especially in a healed form, where I'm like straight up living in my authenticity, and she's like, "You're crazy, Dinky." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm just for real," you know.
Right.
So it's this adult space of mother daughter. It's when I first wrote my bio and said why I was on this journey to change the trajectory of my family. So from my space as mother to daughter, it helped me to be a better daughter for my mother, because I was a lot.
I think about that too now in hindsight. Like, girl, you was off the chain, and I feel like that's my slogan now. Like, I am a lot.
Yeah. And
it's like, for me, like, it's embracing it. Like, I'm tired of running from it. I'm tired of trying to, you know, tone down. Like, I'm a lot. Whether I'm hype and I'm all the way up here getting it, or whether I'm in one of my low spaces. Like, we talked about the last container. Like, when I'm low, I'm low. Like, I'm low. The anxiety, like, all of the things, when they hit so hard. But it's like learning how to embrace it. Like, I'm a whole lot. Yes. I ain't like, and that's me.
Yeah. Well, you did my human design, so you know I'm a lot. Excuse my son, he's back there gaming. So, but yeah, it's that's the beauty of the work, though, to be able to reflect and look back at what was, while not leaning and staying in that space, learning the lessons from what happened and what was, and making an intentional decision about what will be.
Yeah.
Because anything can be, and it's about what we choose to focus on and what we choose to put the intention behind.
And with that, we closing. You're